and we did the first one. We did first set was all songs off our first and second album, and the second set was songs from our EP from 2019 and an album that released in 2019. And the last set, we decided that we would do brand new stuff, nothing that was released, nothing that anyone's ever heard. So we did those three, and that was like August 2nd. We did like 37 songs in like about 6 hours one day. We just played one set after another. And there's cameras there, so they filmed us and they recorded it. So afterwards, we had 37 songs in these three sets. We think, let's do a live album out of it. We'll pick the songs we like the best, and we kind of put it towards the ones that were the new songs that weren't released yet. So we did that, and we gave the tracks to a studio we've been working with. John Crinchley was in a band called 13 Engines. He mixed it up, and we came up with an album called The Live Pandemic Sessions there. So that's that, and that just yesterday. And it sounds pretty heavy. We're kind of liking it. We're listening to it. Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's exciting. You guys are fantastic anyway. I've been listening to you guys for a few years now. So
yeah,
I was pretty excited to see that album coming out.
We're called The Discarded. And it's myself. I'm the singer and the guitar player. I write a lot of the songs. But it's we kind of write together. But the other two guys in the band are my now 22-year-old son and my now 18-year-old son. And they started off when they were 13 and 17. And we got together as a band. And the first album's very them. They'd only been playing for 6 months. It's very Ramones Cramps style. The second album, that Leaps, that was in 2016. 2017, we recorded another album called Manifesto. It's more 77, 78 sort of punk rock sound, rock and roll punk rock sound. And then they got really good. They learned how to play. So the third album, we did like an EP and an album, but it was all at the same time. That was like another 19 songs. And you're talking about, well, there's each year we're releasing an album. And in 2019, we did 2 albums. And then 2020, we did these live pandemic sessions. We are fortunate that we live together, right? Or we did. Now one's 22 and he's moved off with his girlfriend and stuff. But it just leads to that we're able to create very easily. And we're usually one album ahead of ourselves, because even right now, in September 2019, we went into the studio and started recording an album, which we finished in March 2020, and then we recorded some other parts over the summertime. But we're making an animated film out of that one, and it's a whole different weird concept album. This one, but it's called The Gecko. We're pretending we're another band, and it's the rise and fall of this band called the Geckos. And there's this punk rock band with 2 friends, and the one guy gets a big head and gets talked to by the record company. And he sort of goes off and sells out what they were all about. And the other guys in the band say, screw that. We don't want to do that. We want to be who we're about. And it's kind of like the rise and fall of the Geckos, like Ziggy Stardust story or something like that. So, but we want to do, because we're being a whole different character, we have, it's like, we've got animated characters on it. We're pretending we're a whole different band. So that we've got actually an animation student who we've hired through a funding grant, and they're going to do the animation over this summer. We're not releasing it to next year. So we thought we didn't want to go a whole year without putting out an album. What's that like, So
right.
we live album, right? Which is a lot of songs we'll record on our next album. And having said that, we got other ones too.
Right on. Sorry, I didn't mean to just jump in there, but I'm really interested to know where the idea came for this animated video, and the concept of being another band.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of free ourselves, and just like Jarrett, I gave him, there's these little vignettes in between with talking parts. So he does all those parts. And the band's, there's some really, really heavy songs on it, like we play. But then there's other stuff where when the guy sells out, he becomes sort of like a pop rock and roll band, where we start playing these other stuff. It's got horn sections on some songs, and it's got backup singers, and it's got other times where we're just like screaming it out and doing our heavy, heavy rock stuff, right? So it kind of does it really up and down as far as what the dynamics of that album is. And the idea was just to be, let's just be whatever we want. Let's just do whatever we want. But then you listen to this album that we just put out, it's straight up rock and roll. We're starting to get a bit farther away from just being a straight up punk rock band. We're almost like a, you know, they've got some metal aspects to them, and they got some just rock and roll aspects to them. Like, you know, Jarrett's really into, you know, the Metallica bass sound, and Wetzel from the Who, he's so that, and Caden's like totally, he even does a drum solo on this album, like a total John Bottom drum solo at the end of it, and that. So it's just, I mean, I'm still, you know, I'm still a pretty Ramonesy sounding sort of guy in my guitar playing. And then the other thing we got is I got a 15-year-old son who does all our video editing for us. What? He's just tucked his head into the room here, so he's off camera.
Right on.
Chirping.
Right on. Hold him if you want. Sorry, there's a little one running up and down the hallway over here. Exactly. I can hear him going back and forth in the hallway.
We're our family, but like you, there's many different forms of families, and our family is that, you know, we have. You know, we're rock and roll band in a family, but that doesn't mean that we aren't a good rock and roll band or we don't play heavy sort of stuff. Just means that's what we do. You know, just like, you know, the traditional sort of idea of a family unit is whatever you want to make it, as long as it's a loving environment, right? As long as, you know, you're caring for each other. As long as you.
Absolutely. I know I'm raising two little metalheads myself, so I totally. Yeah, I know. I see you guys up so good all the time, and you guys seem to be a really close family, and it's nice to see that, because you guys are able to do that. You're able to mix your music into that and still be a close family. You guys bring all your styles to the table, which makes you guys pretty unique. Sometimes when you see family bands, you see one take care of everything. Whereas you guys seem to put everything on the table and then take all the right parts from each of you and put it together. And that's one of the things I really like about you guys is you've all made sure that it's all of your tables or all of your stuff on the table versus one of you taking care of everything. And that makes you guys really unique. I like that about you guys.
Yeah, that's an important thing, because you do one thing that a band really did bring was your children grow, and at the time when your children grow, they become, I remember what it was like to be 14, 15, 16. I had fully formed thoughts of what I wanted the world to be like or what I wanted to be like. So you change from them just being a child, and they're more like a peer. And a band is like the ultimate sort of way to say, now I'm going to relate to you like I did with my buddies when I was, 20 years old and I played the band. So that means we create together. And like I said, like, sure, the first album, they'd just been playing for 6 months, and I went, here's a song that's rudiment. But like these last stuff, Jarrett does so much on that concept album I talked to you about. He does more than I do on it. And a lot of the songs are, that we're writing that are on this one, the new stuff, is me and Caden jamming together. Caden's like totally into the arrangements, this, we're going to this, and this is the beat. And it's like, great. Like, they're so advanced as far as what they've got going for such a young age. It's like Caden just graduated high school. It's just like, I released 5 albums, and I've toured Southern Ontario 7 or 8 times. And, I'm a fully formed rock and roll drummer who knows structure and how songs work and that. So again, I get to relate to them differently than being like, I'm the dad and I'm in charge of everything.
Yeah.
They'll tell me, like, that's the fun part. And when you got buddies, you take the piss out of each other. So we'll do that as well too, right? Like, on the way home, it's like, oh, you kind of screwed up in that third song in the chorus. Hey, Dad, you forget the words, Yeah, I did. I did. Oh, did you notice that? Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
So it's the thing that they bring as much as I do to this particular thing. And the mixes aren't just me doing the mixes. It goes by everyone, and everyone has to say, Jared always wants more bass. And I'm like, and then Caden's sort of the deciding vote, going, it needs to balance out and be like that,
Yeah. He needs more cowbell kind of kid.
No, he's pretty good, actually, because as long as it sounds like a heavy sort of rockin' band, he likes that sort of thing. And he likes what we do. They've got a fairly eclectic taste for guys that are like them. They play musical instruments, and they didn't really talk about it at school, because that's not really popular music. Isn't like guitar and drum based music anymore. So it's sort of like, someone would go, well, go down to see this club to see this band, and Jarrett would be like, yeah, I played there. They go, no, you didn't. Like, we live up in this small town north of Toronto. So like, we're just like, oh yeah, we go to the grocery store and then we come home. In fact, our song "Not From Town" is basically based on the fact that we live here, but don't really feel like we're from here, sort of thing. You know?
Yep. Yeah, I can understand that being here in the falls, certainly.
Yeah, something like that. As everyone does.
Yep. You're kind of in a town where everybody knows everybody type thing.
Yeah, I didn't grow up here. You know, like I didn't go to high school or public school here, and a lot of people did. You know, so like it's just like I moved here when I was 30 years old, sort of thing, and it was like, sure, I like the people here, and I know the people here, but more through my kids' sports and that. But generally, my friends all live and are from Toronto, so when I go out to visit my friends, that's where I go. And I was originally a drummer and played in rock bands and punk bands in Toronto. So hardcore bands, that's where I go up through. So that's where I go. That's where my lifelong friends are when I go to hang out. And I work down near the airport when I have to go to work. So, I go into the grocery store and I go to the sports arena when it was open and I get gas. And that's mostly what I do. I don't go out and hang out very often,
Yeah, I hear that.
Put anyone anywhere.
Yeah.
So we go down to the basement and we've got a whole jamming place down there. We've got the drums, and that's Caden's bedroom. He's got the drums and the PAs and the amps and everything. And one half is our jamming stuff, the other half is his room, sort of thing. So that's what we do.
Here's a bed. We got to practice.
Yeah, well, even up here, it's funny enough because I got my own drum set up in my own room there, right? So so we and you got the musical instruments on the wall, right? So like. What happens when a man's allowed to decorate his own room? It's like you sort of end up with that sort of thing, right? It's sort of, hey, how's it going?
Just told TJ.
Hey, boss.
Keep going.
Yeah. I just got in from work.
I understand. Where were you
Sorry,
working?
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just figured I'd pull him in while we were having this conversation.
Beauty.
Yeah.
This is TJ. TJ, this is Joel from The Discarded. Welcome to your own show.
Thank you.
So
I was up in Gravenhurst, then we were over on Horseshoe Valley. So.
Oh, you're working at Horseshoe Valley?
Yeah, way up north today.
Yeah, that's a bit of a trek, sure.
Joel,
That's up in
Let me get this one.
Orangeville.
Usually it's whenever the job's done.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's 10 o'clock at night, sometimes it's 5 in the afternoon, right? It all depends. So.
Well, like Caden, my drummer, he's a mechanic. He installs elevators now. He's like apprenticing at that. So he's got to go all over too. Like, so he's up north or he's down over here. He's like off for a week here and there and that sort of thing. So he's finished high school and doing that. So.
Yeah. No, that's good though. Like, that's a good apprenticeship to have. Like.
Yeah, for sure.
So can you finish explaining to me what you were explaining before I so rudely pulled TJ into the conversation?
I just said that I wasn't real. I'm from Orangeville, but I don't really. I got here when I was 30, and like most people, grew up here, lived here. So I don't know a lot of folks. I played music in Toronto and lived there for a long time. So I end up, if I'm going to go out and hang out with friends who like my friends, I tend to go down there, right? So that's where we're at. So, but mostly what we do here is, like you say, a lot of what we're doing. You say the pandemic. What is it did for us? Well, we were fortunate that we are our own bubble, so it didn't really stop our band. We could still record and play and write songs. We have been.
Did I hear you say Orangeville?
Yeah,
he was explaining something here.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
No, it's okay. You probably drove through there today.
No, dude. I kind of grew up in that area when I was younger. When my parents kind of did their separation thing, my ma took us up to Dundalk.
Oh yeah.
So it's right down the road, but we used to party there all the time.
We used to live. We had a place before me and my wife separated. It was at Port Road and Highway 89, like over that way. Like
wow, eh? I know where that is. I know exactly where that is.
Right? And we even play against Dundalk and towns like that, and those folks would be on the lacrosse teams and stuff.
How long ago would you been jamming around there? Just out of curiosity, sort of.
I moved back. Like I lived in Toronto, and I moved up to Orangeville probably '99 when I had Jarrett, the bass player in this band.
Yeah, okay.
And he's 22 now. And then I moved and did like some work stuff where I went down to London, and I went down to like Point Peely, which is down near Windsor. And I moved back up to that Shelburne area about 2011. And then I moved down to Orangeville 2016.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, it's changed a lot since, because I would have been back around 90, 96, maybe, give or take, right up to 99,
So
2002. I think is when I got back to work and everything and stuff, and then I was gone, right? So
right, so like that's when I had the bass player and the drummer. Bass player in
hmm,
this band was born in '99, and the drummer was born in 2002, and that was in
yeah.
Oregon. And then I moved from there in about 2004 and started doing my work stuff.
Oh wow, eh?
Yeah. So, and then we got back here in 2016, and we kind of like, okay, like we said, your mom and I have separated. Instead
Yeah.
of that, why don't we concentrate on something that's positive? Let's make music together. Let's be like,
Hey,
and
why not?
we're gonna do it for fun. And since I'd done that in Toronto, I thought, hey, I'll take you down to Toronto and we'll go into some studios with some friends I know. And we kind of did it. We played at a friend's party, and then we made a recording. And another friend, everybody goes, "You guys are all right. You should." And I went, "Thanks." And I don't know if you ever heard of a '60s band called the Sonics. They're like a garage rock band from the '60s. They do a song called
I might have heard some of their stuff before, but
yeah. So they were having a show at the Danforth Music Hall. So like our fourth or fifth show was opening for 900 people at the Danforth Music Hall, and I was like, it's all downhill from here.
yeah, right.
This is pretty well the peak that you guys are going to have. Okay,
This is it right here, baby. Make it count,
it's
right?
our sort of thing is, we don't really think this music. Well, it could be. We think we make good music, and there is people like
Yeah.
sort of stuff, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to be the top of the house sort of thing. We just want to make good tunes. What we do, put out good albums and write songs. We write a
Yeah.
and it's your guitar, drums, bass sort of thing. But like I said, as they've learned their playing, kind of expanded a bit beyond just being rudimentary, say, sort of Cramps Ramonesy sort of thing, and now they're into they can play some pretty progressive but still heavy stuff. Like that song you used for the intro for this, "It's a Lie," as an indication of Caden laying down a cool drum beat, right? And me just over top of it, sort of thing. And then Jared going, "Oh, I can slap a cool bass line to that one."
Oh, nice. Eh? So like, yeah, it started with the drums, and then you're like, I got something for that.
Yeah,
put a riff. Buddy hears it. I can slap a bass to that, no problem. He says, right?
Right, a real cool part to go with it to offset. Doing a lot more melody. I'm like singing and playing guitar at the same time, the only guitar player. So I'm kind of laying down a pretty heavy. I do the broad strokes of this is what the song is, and it's all distorted, and he's singing, and they're like doing all the other stuff.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. How it works like that sometimes, right?
Go crazy, do that sort of shit. So
I'm just kind of moving out of the wind here.
No, so it's fine, man. You just gotta work. Gotta have a beer.
Yeah, I know. I fucking flew home. I was like, we ended up picking up 2 other fucking quick jobs, apparently.
Don't drive that. That hurts.
Oh, sorry. We're good. I think I'm out of the wind right here, right? So.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
All right.
Anyway.
That was terrible.
Well, you should have just raised your hand and been, what the fuck, man?
Oh, your volume's really loud. I got that.
So, yeah, hold on one
sec.
Heading into the kitchen.
A lot of stuff in this album, this new stuff, it's just really straight up kick-ass rock and roll that you'll hear on it. Like pretty well the whole second half of this album we just released is that sort of stuff. And the stuff that we've been writing, even you're saying this pandemic, we're looking at going, is our next album going to be 10 songs, or is it going to be probably 20 songs by the time we get into a studio, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about the positive. Well, the positive side is we have a lot of time to sort of write and do stuff. Now, I also know you talk about windows and guys getting older. Like my guys are going to be going to university and doing that sort of stuff this particular time. So it kind of, when we were recording that album I was talking to you about that we're doing the animation thing for, we're like, maybe we won't play so much. And then the pandemic happened and no one could. So it was like, we were going to take a break for this year. And that year that went by, that seems like a lost year to everyone now. And it was like all of a sudden, that kind of worked out and dovetailed nicely into what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? So,
well, I mean, it's been 2 years since I've seen you guys play.
Yeah. So it's 2019 we did some at the beginning of 2020. So yeah, I think we were down in Niagara Falls. I think it was in March when you saw us. When we were we just released we released 2 albums in 2019. We just released the first one when you were there the first time we came, and you were so nice to get candy. We like that, yeah. And
you guys are the best to have. Oh my God. You were one of my favorite bands to have in the bar. Your kids were like, I mean, at that time, they like we're only going 2 years, but 2 years makes a difference at that age. And like they just the most polite kids I have ever met. So professional. So like, no, this isn't my dad. This is my bandmate type deal. Like, I can't wait to see you guys again. I can't wait to actually find a bar to be working so that we can book you again, or at least bring you down here for some kind of something.
We do have a larger backyard, which could accommodate maybe one band every once in a while. You know, I can't fit 500 people, but a little private show, maybe 50, 100 people.
No, but Tim can.
If you're cool. Right? We got 1,000 people booked for that one, man. That's going to be brutal.
Oh, that's great.
We're working on some.
We'll call you. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, we'll talk to you about it, man. A couple days it might turn into 3 days, but right now we're planning for 2, just per se, right?
It's happening again because people are pent up. They want to get out, and I don't think we want to go and do like like when we were saying we were getting tired. We were recording an album at the same time we were playing. We did 15 shows in a month and a half. Plus, we're all full time. So we're playing like every weekend and Thursdays, recording when we weren't. And we're all like you said. By the time we got to about January, we're like, I'm getting pretty tired. What about you? I'm pretty tired too.
Let's take a break.
You guys are monsters in your own right. That's for sure. When it comes to work and music and
2 years sort of thing, and plus work full time and went to school and shit like that. So like,
we've been behind the scenes. Amanda and I have been talking about. We're booked like today. Like we've done 11. We'll have 11 shows by this week, just in this week alone that we've done. It's like we've booked all the way to the end of April, kind of into May, and then we're talking about maybe taking a week's break, just fucking, just kind of chill out, refresh, you know what I mean? And
I'll finish that one. Oh, the next one's coming up. So I think we'll do shows, but it probably won't be like we were doing 20, 25, 30 shows a year. So I think now we'll probably get more into doing, why don't we just do 5 really fun shows and go
like festivals and stuff, like a weekend thinger. And
go to Ottawa, and Caden's going to go to Waterloo. So, we'll get together and be able to do it. But, we've been playing pretty steady for 5 years now. We're pretty tight, and we've got like we say, we got 6 albums right now, and we're working.
That's awesome, man. Like you can walk on stage, and every night could be a different fucking song, and never repeat.
We usually just try to play newer songs because that's what we tend to enjoy more, right? So. Hey, you want to hear something, we'll play it. We know it, but it's just like we got. That's why it's like, greatest hits. Okay, take 2 from the first album, 2 from the second, and by the time you get 5 albums, well, there's 10 songs, right?
Yeah. Now you're on for 2 hours, fucking trying to jam, and
40, 45 minutes, and that sort of is, and how even if you watch any of those live sets. We do it like we play. We're like a Ramones hurry up offense. We don't sit there and go, we like to chat for 5 minutes in between songs. We're like, we got this album with 3 songs are ready to go. One song
non-stop action, baby.
Last song was 13 minutes. It's 2 songs, a drum solo and a bass solo that all go. It's 13 minutes long. So there's 2 sections of this album that are you just go one song into the other because we were playing so long. It's just like, okay, that one ends. You started, so don't be looking at me to go start. That's what you're talking about. And they're like, we have our sets and we write them down. It's like, Caden, you start this one. Don't wait for me to look at you. Just start it, buddy.
Yeah. I'll know what song it is. Don't worry, bud. Right? Whatever you start with, man. That's awesome, though.
Going, but
Yeah. Well, to have that connection with your bandmates, since doing the show and hanging out with Amanda and meeting actual full-size bands and doing all that, it seems to be a really tight community when you get to those bands that do that stuff. You know what I mean? Where you're at that point. You don't just meet for a rehearsal. You're not just together in recording studio, You guys are kind of all hanging out together in the end of the day, right?
We were hanging out for a long time before that.
To be fair, Joel did make them, so
I did make them.
I mean, he did make them.
I know. But
They're his kids.
kind of a bad time to ask that question, but like it seems to be like when you get into the communities of the real bands that are like family or family oriented, it's really tight, eh? Like,
but at the level we're
what did you say, Joel?
That's how it is. Your families take many forms, and then some of them you're born into, and some of them you make, right? Because those are the kindred spirits you sort of find, and the people you're drawn to and want to have in your life, the energies that are half decent. And a band at our levels are like that. We're moving our gear, we're tearing it down. It's like, you're doing the merch table, you're packing it up, you're driving, like it's all there, and it's full of a lot of fun. But it's work, and everyone sort of pitches in and does that sort of thing. And you get to have, people always go, is it really hard being in a band together when you're a family? We're like, well, no, before we used to get in a car and go to a hockey game, and kids would play hockey and the others go out of town. Now we get to go to rock and roll.
My first band I was ever in, we started making it. We were playing bars. Like, we ended up having people call us, play at our party, this and that. And then as soon as a couple of them, got married, had kids, I respect that. But the band was over. All of a sudden, it's over. Like, why? Why is it over, bud? Like,
yeah,
we were right there, But
the kids and before they discarded, and it's not that we broke up. It's just that it was that everyone was my age. We all had kids, and we all had busy lives, and it was just tough to organize 4 people to go, yeah, I'm free that day, without someone going, oh, I promise. We go here. The
wife's got ladies' night. I gotta stay home with the kids. Like I understand that, but
it's not available to you, right? Like your kids are. You're right. When your kids are, newborn up to about 11 or 12, you're pretty housebound.
Committed.
Be there.
Yeah.
It's illegal to let your children be by themselves.
I know, that's crazy, because growing up, I was by myself all the time, man. I never seen my parents until I was in my 20s. You're right? Like, when I started coming around after they kicked me out and shit. Like, fucking.
Right now, I've got a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old here, and they're pretty directed and motivated, except the 15-year-old keeps coming in here and trying to distract me while I'm doing an interview.
I told you, pull him in. If he wants to come distracting you, throw him on this live. Throw him on this live and show him what he's in for.
Yeah, right. I've seen Amanda's kids hand her a note while we're live. I'm hungry. It's like, we're live on the air, but hey,
funny is they don't. The phone thing is different than, say, when I was a kid. When you had something to your head like this, you realized your parents were on the phone, and you didn't talk, you didn't bug them. Now, when you got like this thing up here, they're like going, who talks on a phone? They're talking to you. And you're like, I'm actually got someone on the other end of here that I've got to do. Otherwise,
Problem is they don't talk to you no other time until you're like doing this.
Oh, we know,
right? Like,
my daughters, I could have my headphones in. I could be listening to music. I could be working, typing. Doesn't matter. The second Danielle or Ryder call, they need everything they could possibly need from me at that particular time. And it's only when those two call. It could be an emergency. It could be like anybody calling me. Just anybody. But the second one of those two calls me, those two, my kids are stuck to me. It's over. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They need everything. So I get it. There's no distracting them. It's like they can smell the second somebody's on their line.
I do got to apologize for being late. I want to thank Amanda for already going on with the show. Like we always say, the show must go on. Right? Thank you so much.
No problem. It's all good.
Yeah, no, it was. Well, wait, we don't usually schedule Wednesdays, but I knew that you guys were coming out with some new stuff, and I wanted to make sure that we put you guys out there, because I don't have a bar for you guys to be playing in this time, which I really hate. But give it time, and I will again. It'll happen.
Here's my next rock star right here.
Hello.
Oh, no way.
Well, aren't you just a gorgeous? How's your night going?
How's your night going? You're going to be a singer, aren't you? Right.
Yeah.
So trade my video editing. Sadie's just going to take over the world. Oh,
May I
Nice.
ask a question then? What style are you going to be singing? Like, are you going to be like hardcore? Are you going to be like alternative? Like,
early. She's 10 years old. What sort of music are you into? Rock and roll or what? Heavier stuff?
I like all music.
Yeah, she likes all music at this point. You know, like
everything.
I'm
Find
sure
your groove.
10 may have changed by the time you were 15, but
Yeah, yeah.
we have a song off our first album called Time Bomb Heart, which part of the song goes tick tock and then it goes boom. And every time when she goes to bed, she goes, "Say it, Dad," and I go tick tock. Boom! It turns out the light goes to bed. So
That's awesome, right?
That still keeps working, right?
That's fantastic.
Like even now in these times here, like I said, we're fortunate it's a bubble, so we got a bubble that can make music still together. But we also have we got board game nights. We get together on Friday night, play board games, and we as long as we got the internet, we can still do something.
Kind of a weird question.
You guys
Like
have been super
at
tight.
night, like when your family's like, I know your family's your band, and you guys are all musically right. So this is kind of a question, band related, but kind of family. You guys all have dinner together every night, like actually sit at the table with each other and fucking shoot the shit.
Like the older ones are off, and like Caden's got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Me and going, I ate early, Dad. I'm gonna head over to my girlfriend's house. Trey and Sadie were here, and they go to their moms too, back and forth. Her and her mom, my mom and their mom and me, we get along well. So like it's just like if they're here, they're here. If they're there, they're there. So depends on the night. Some nights it's everyone's around, and then some nights it's no one.
Yeah. You cook a huge meal, nobody shows up, right?
We get dinner together most nights there, and so after a long day at work, you come home. My thing is, I got to get in the kitchen and make something to eat.
Yeah.
One of the big things that I do is I do teach them how to be, you're
independent,
nice kids and that, but Caden knows how to cook. Caden knows how to do his laundry. Sadie knows how to do her laundry. Sadie's her how to cook. They know how to clean up, do their dishes, like the basic stuff of,
basic real necessities.
Like Sadie,
if you don't have clean clothes, how do you go about your life? You know what I mean?
You guys don't get married to have some woman to be your new mom. You guys got to come in on an equal footing if you want to be happy and take care of yourself. Like you learn learn how to do your laundry, learn how to cook food for yourself, learn how to.
No, that's good. Because I know, like with my
pay your bills and learn how to have fun, but don't learn the basic stuff. Like still have fun and what brings you joy, and you get a little crazy when you want to get crazy, but keep the basics.
Keep it real. Right? Like
my basic thing I always tell everyone: pay your rent first, get some place to stay. Pay your bills second, because then they're not going to cut everything off. You can always get food or be a bit hungry. That's about third party. And then after that, whatever you got left, you party. But at least you got a warm place to sort of stay, eat, and hang out, right?
That's 100% a place to live. Like I live on the road or in my car, like
sort of things there.
Right? Having a roof over the head, number one, right? Pay your rent, man. Right? We can tell anybody anything. Pay your rent.
Yeah, do that for first. And you can be poor, and you can have no food, food bank or whatever, right? Or get a bunch of pasta and eat it for a week or something. But if you don't got a place to live, you got to just eating the pasta or where to cook the pasta, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
There's the case.
So
I'm just moving around my kitchen. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So who have you guys played with in the past?
We're pretty fortunate. We sometimes we play with like straight up hardcore bands. We got to open for Teenage Head, which was a very cool show. That was kind of like a nice thing to be able to do. That was like one of our last shows, was being able to play with Teenage Head before this all locked down. And we got to open for this band, the Sonics, who were kind of like a seminal 60s garage rock band. That was
I know Sonics.
Who are friends of ours. And then, but really a lot of the cool things has just been playing with bands that are, peers of us, Backbreaker out of Kitchener we played with. We, played with some bands down in Hamilton as well. We opened for the Isotopes. There's been a few bands
them as well.
cool to be able to play. But this it's just a lot of, you know, Kill Sid. We played with a band Locomotive 8. Like these are just bands of the same level as us, and it's really great to be able to listen to them, hear them, and get to hang out with them. There's a lot of shows where you play. There's 4 or 5 people on the show, or there's some shows there's just you and a couple other bands. So you know that's kind of a cool thing. We played with I forget what the bands. Played with a couple of bands down there in Niagara Falls, but you know.
I don't even remember who else you guys played with that night. I was so happy that I finally got to see you guys live that I don't even remember. I'm sure in the next week or two, though, it's going to come up in my memories.
I gotta look at the poster. I had the poster around me. I go, oh yeah, that's who it was.
I didn't get to steal it because somebody else did, so I didn't get the poster from that night. I
don't remember. I could look and remember.
Yeah. I don't know.
We used their drum kit. It was a huge drum kit. That's all I ever really remember.
If I could remember who the band was that played with you guys.
Cordless Mike, and he had an effects unit for his vocals as well. They were good, you know. And the other guy.
Now I feel like an asshole because I don't know who played that night.
It was a local band.
Hopefully my memories will come up soon and I can apologize later.
Yes. Well, yeah.
I gotta say, I mispronounce every band that comes on, everybody's name. It's all right, Amanda. Like, if anyone's gonna bitch and chew, it's gonna be at me for doing all the shit I say, right? Like, fuck, you got
what
no
did you
worries,
say?
son.
What did you say, Joel?
You're gonna discard it. You can remember that, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
I know that band.
So, where can we find you? Because we're coming up to like in between 7 o'clock. So like, before we close out and whatever, we're trying to act like we're professional. So like, where can we find you guys? Whatever. You already met me. You know I'm full of shit. So
you can go on there, and if you want to download the music and get it there, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on all those other streaming things. If you'd like to listen to it and give us, 0.0001 cent, we'd love that.
Of course.
Again, it's not about really for cash. Really, my kids are loving the fact that this is a thing here, right? And they're able to buzz around.
I love it.
Yeah. So we're found at all those sort of sites, which is kind of cool. It's kind of nice to when people and we're on YouTube as well, where you can actually we're starting to do a lot more video stuff in that where we're putting up us. So this album that we just made on Friday, we're going to release us actually recording.
That we made on Friday, he says.
Yeah.
Like it was just a one-day deal. We made this on Friday. Now we have a full album,
Yeah, it's gonna be. Well, here we are actually playing the album. This is us. You heard the album. This is us doing it.
That's just fucking awesome, man.
I can't wait to sit down. Watch him out. There's kids behind him.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all good. Sadie, what do you do? She's got her discarded hoodie on.
Let me see. Let me see.
There you go. Oh, I'll get out of the way for you. There you go, Sadie.
Okay, now I have a question. Can we order directly from you so that...
Yeah. Like if you go onto our website, or even if you go on to Bandcamp, you can order anything you want. Yeah.
And that goes to you though, like that's
that
helps you guys out, right? Like
it actually Bandcamp actually gives the money more directly to the artist, right?
I've heard that several times now, like
meeting
bands and talking.
And the second best thing you can do is go to something like Bandcamp, where they give a fair share to the band and just act as intermediary. And the third is like streaming. That gives you promotion. Yes, it does, but you don't really get any.
You can't pay your bills on promotion.
That's where we are, right? Like we're pretty good at promoting people and doing this and that, but our passion is just getting the bands out there, and we want to make sure the links we share, make sure that the most of it goes to you guys, right? Like,
well, we make a joke that when you put out an album, it's kind of like a dog getting on a porch going, "Hey, hey, listen to me, hey, hey, over here, hey." That's kind of what it is, right?
I own your stuff. I own one of your limited edition T-shirts.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my daughter owns it, it, but I wear it.
Yeah,
So
my daughter
Yeah.
stole most of my t-shirts too.
No, I'll be checking out your
good.
music.
Oh, they're amazing, dude.
For once, I've got to say, Amanda always says this every show. I didn't have time to research your music and stuff, but this time I literally did not. And I can't wait to actually research your music after the show and actually.
Yeah, live album there. This is a pretty good indication. Like I said, this album we just put out is we did it live off the floor, no overdubs. It's just us playing. So
that's it.
You sound like live sort of thing.
It's going to be that album that brings me in because that's why we do our show live. Like, it's no different than getting on stage. Exactly. You get one shot tonight. You know, this is it, baby. Right? Like, let's do it. And the fact that you recorded this new album that way, oh man, I already love it. And I haven't even heard a note yet. Not to be rude or anything, but tonight when we're done, that album's going on my playlist. I'm gonna cook, make my lunch while I listen to your new album, man.
Yeah, so drop us a line. I know what you think. Tell which ones you like. You never really have a perspective of being a band. You got your own favorites, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And later on, someone goes, "Oh, I really like that song." You're like, "Oh, okay, cool. That's great. I'm glad you like it."
You're like, I hate that song. I hate playing that song, but the crowd loves it, right? Like, you know, that kind of leads me into a question. Is there a song that you just hate that you guys wrote, but yet the crowd loves it and you have to play it every show?
Like, there's certain stuff where, like we say, we got 5 albums and you don't get around to playing stuff all the time.
No, right?
First and second album that we did a lot of tours on that were like, oh yeah, okay, you know, or songs that we wrote when they were really young and they don't like playing them. Like, we have a song off the first album called Cry Baby, which Caden wrote when he was 3 years old. He wrote the words. I said, he was on the bed, he was getting ready for bed, and he's jumping up and down the bed. He goes, "I got a song for you, Dad." I go, "What is it?" He goes, "I'm a crybaby. I'm a crybaby. I'll never lie down. I'll never go to sleep. I'm a crybaby." I go, "That's pretty good." So I wrote it into a song. So when he got old enough to be play, I went, "We're gonna do the crybaby song, man." So we did that. And there's a couple other ones where we just played them a lot. So you're just kind of like, okay, it's not like I hate it, but it's just like, and there's a few on a couple, like, because we've done so many albums, it's just like we wrote it, we learned it, we played it, but we never really moved into the live set that much. So it's kind of like, we don't even remember it anymore. You know, we try to go through and play songs we don't play just for that very reason. Like we did on this, we had one song on the first album called "Feel the Glow" that we hadn't played since we recorded it in 2016. And Caden goes, "I like that song, Feel the Glow. We should do it again." So we brought it back out and we do it now again as a song that we do. And we did it in the live sessions as well. When we recorded the 3 live sessions, we opened the first set with this song. And we did it when that's the first time we played that song live. You know?
And did well.
Yeah. And then there's like songs here on this live album. There's 7 new songs, probably 6 of them we'd never played live before. So it's kind of fun to get up and go, "Hey, we're going to do it. The first time we're going to do this song, it's going to be recorded. It's the first time we ever played it live," sort of thing. So I think we got a lot of practice. So it was kind of fun that way. Bones,
you're fucking nailed it again. Hey, TJ, you're back.
What's that?
Oh, you went green there.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah, you are. We just let it go.
Hey,
so I just want to mention to you that Christy Hales says hi. She popped into the conversation.
Oh, great. I see it now. Hey, hi, Christy. I'm not
sure she's still watching, but she was there.
Yeah, what's really cool about your scene down there is you do have, and it's another thing I really like, but it's women driving it, and there's a whole cool energy about it there. The energy of we're going to nurture and we're going to make this, and we're doing it for one reason, just because we want to get it out there and we want to nurture it. Yeah. Nothing more beyond that, right? Where the intentions are true and the intentions are pure there. Yeah. Right? You know, stuff that you did, stuff that Christy's done, stuff that, you know.
When the fire started blazing and the ashes.
Oh, she used to be
we're stirred up.
Who's the lady?
Sorry about
I'm forgetting. Who's the lady who had the first time we done the Niagara Falls? Great lady.
There's London. Oh, that's Jillian Underhill. She owns Niagara Metal. Yes. Idea, right? I texted her a couple of days ago. I texted her yesterday, actually. Yeah, she and I she runs Niagara Metal. I'm still doing Soka City Sounds, and now she and I own the Niagara merch table together. We run that together. So the next time I see you, I'll get some merch for that.
Just a wonderful person there, in it for all the right reasons. Just a lovely person as well.
Yeah,
in fact, I didn't know.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it just amazed me. So, like to say, you got a really nice scene down there. People who, there's always going to be there always is, but it's like there's a good thing of people getting it out and people doing it for the right reasons because they care and like people, right? And that's what's really cool. Like about going down to Niagara Falls. Hamilton has a whole scene that's really great. It's got a steep tradition of rock and roll, so it's cool to go there as well. Toronto seems to be the most kind of like all over the place. Like there's no
lately, yeah.
No one can afford to live in Toronto, so the scene is gone. Like being there in the 80s and 90s, every one of my friends, unless they had bought a place, can't afford to live there anymore. Like, it's pretty sad. All the guys who are musicians and artists, finally they got to go to Guelph, they got to go to Hamilton. A lot of them went east and towards Cobourg and Peterborough, right? Some of us went north up to Orangeville, etc. None of us could afford to live in Toronto; it's just too expensive. So what did they do? They killed the arts in Toronto. They killed.
They did.
As far as music goes.
Right? So there's no pocket, no community there, unless the younger group. It has to be, well, my parents own the house, so that's why I can afford to live here. But it used to be, and there used to be like the scene that I came into, which was a hardcore punk rock scene. There was all these people who lived and went to alternative schools in Toronto, and then all the people who were like the weirdos and freaks who didn't feel like they were from their hometown, who went to Toronto to go, I need to find kindred spirits, right? So then they found my tribe, and then all the bands started from there, and then a lot of them went and moved to Montreal even, and there was all Montreal connection as well. Like I was born in Montreal and I went to high school in Montreal, and there was a whole connection of bands that came out of Montreal or were from Toronto and lived in Montreal because it was cheap to live there, sort of thing, right? During the late 80s, early 90s, that's what kind of went down there. Like bands like the Doughboys were all made up of guys from Toronto, except for Castor, right? Like when those bands were around. And,
I have a signed Pulse magazine by them.
Okay, well that's funny. Like
I was like,
those guys played in hardcore bands when I first went to Toronto. So I knew everyone in all those bands. The guy who started that band, I played in a band, and he left the band I was in to start the Doughboys, right? And he went on. He came back and ended up being in Rusty, that band that was
really
Scott McCullough. He's the guitar player, and then we play together. And I was originally a drummer, and even right now I'm working on a project. There's a woman who sang backup on the last Discarded album. She did backup vocals on some of the last Discarded album. We're producing an album for her, and I got the bass player that I played with back in the 80s. It's me and him as rhythm section, right? And I get to play drums again, which is really fun for me. Right?
Amazing.
No, that's sick, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's kind of full circle, and then you see things like the film Not Dead Yet, which is like about all the hardcore bands from 84, 85. All those bands went on to be in the alternative bands, like, No Mind, and then you'd go to Montreal and you'd see Voivod and those guys, right? And that scene was fun because you'd have like the guy from Men Without Hats would be into Voivod, and they'd all be hanging out together. It would be Voivod be hanging out with Men Without Hats, hanging out with the Doughboys and Mitsu and all these guys. You'd go down there and it'd be like, holy fuck, man! Like you guys all hang out together. It's
starstruck everywhere you go, right?
Yeah.
They had their own scene, and they would go, "Yeah, we got money, so we're going to support all those little bands." And that. So that
why
was
wouldn't you though, right?
Yeah. So there was, and all those bands came from different. We were almost like the Toronto bands were like a farm team for these bigger bands to go be playing. Oh, hey, we need
Canadian terms, eh?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
One of the heaviest heavy metal drummers that I have seen in my lifetime is the guy's the drummer for Blue Rodeo. He's an awesome.
What's so funny about that is out of all the people, I had gone to Johnny Loveson's memorial 2 years ago in 2019. Christy and I had gone together with the man that had owned the bar that you had played at. And he was one of the first people I had met there. And he's this tiny little guy. And how? You know what I mean? Like, it's just amazing the power that comes out of some of these people. Because you see these people and you're like, oh my God, you're an amazing drummer, blah, blah, blah. And then you meet these people in real life and you're like,
yeah,
where did you come from?
I remember seeing Glenn the first time. First time I saw him, he had a snare drum, a bass drum, and a hi-hat. He did more than that. Most people with a whole drum set. You see him with double bass drum. He's just like, and he's like, oh, holy crap.
Just retarded fucking fast.
Like Ian Blurton, who's in a band called Come On, and Ian Blutonia, and he plays in a lot of different bands. And he mixed and produced our first 3 or 4 albums. He's plays like sort of like heavy metal, sort of Sabbath, psychedelic heavy metal music, right? And Milcham plays drums in that. It's great to watch him being able to unleash and do that sort of thing there, right? And then they've got other guys, like they just got some very, very heavy musicians who play in it, right? It's like just great to hear, like almost heavy metal music with all the progressive edge into it, but not going off into, say, a Rush sort of thing, but just more like a Sabbath progressiveness to it and that. It's really kind of cool. These guys making this sort of music. They know it's not going to be on the radio, but that's what inspires them, and they want to just do that, right? And like I say, a guy like that who's okay, he's great, he's got a gig that's going to pay him money and make money as a musician, but he also can indulge. That gives him time to indulge his other passions and do his other stuff at that, right?
Yeah, right.
Toronto was a lot more inclusive scene back, say, in the 80s and 90s. Like the guys from the Bare Naked Ladies, you saw them out there. They were out at the club. The Tragically Hip would get those smaller bands on their tours, and that sort of stuff would happen.
Yeah.
Like
the Tragically Hip were never big in the States, so.
Right? So, that was kind of nice to see that sort of thing happen. That kind of closed down when there was larger sort of things, you used to be able to open for cool bands. Like I got, when I used to get open for bands like Red Cross and the Dickies, and I opened for the guy who was the singer for the MC5 and stuff like that. So you got to these things are these because guys like the Garys, the 2 Garys who brought in the Ramones for the first time, right, and really helped spur punk rock out of New York, and then they would put unknown bands to open a bill on a 3-band bill to give them exposure, right? There's the guy from Hamilton who used to do Call the Office, same thing, Lou. He would put unknown bands, and that doesn't happen anymore. When you got something like Live Nation or whatever, for whatever it is, like I get it, it's a business in that, and they got to put together a bill, etc. But they don't expose or nurture bands to get that exposure, like they used to. Like and so the Garys did. Lou would do that. Elliot Lefko, who went on to be in Golden Voice and like some other big things. He did that in the early 80s, but when Nirvana came out, people went, wasn't that great? Nirvana is out, their type of music's popular, et cetera, et cetera. Like, no, it shut it down. When they got big, it went, whoom, and no one got to open for those bands anymore because they had all these other bands from big labels were on it. And it was like, put the no band on the band that doesn't have a label and it's just up and coming, right? Like, you could see, like, you'd see bands like Dinosaur Jr. play at the Cameron to 20 people, and then it broke and it was like, now they're playing at Maple Leaf Gardens, and
the next day,
and bands would come through. Like I remember I was playing this bar, the Silver Dollar, like back in the later 80s, and I walked to the club and there's
that's
this
a
band
great band.
Back of they're sitting on the back of their bus converted into a tour mobile, and they're like, oh, what a bummer, man, our gig got canceled. I go, yeah, that's a drag, man, because we drove all the way from here, we got all these big sets, we put on this really neat show. I go, I'll buy a t-shirt off you, man. I'm sorry it got canceled. So I bought them a t-shirt off of them, and that it was Gore. And they were like, it was their first tour. We were in a tour,
no way.
all their costumes and everything, and they were all bummed out. They'd drawn all the way to Toronto, and it was like, oh, it's Gore, and they're just normal guys that are costume, right? You would see Dinosaur Jr. sitting on the back of their dad's, station wagon. We're playing here tonight. We borrowed my dad's car. We're on tour, and their band in like Lee's Palace, and they got like 50 people there when it holds like 200 or 300, and the basement. Smash, man, that's great. Let's hold Smash, sure. And you could hang out and play with those sort of bands, right? You could see those sort of bands at small venues. Then it blew up, and you didn't have that sort of thing.
Yeah, all of a sudden that's gone instantly, right? Like,
but that's what I'm saying. But what you guys are doing in Niagara Falls, those are the scenes that people remember. They remember when it starts off organically like that, and there's like that that all you guys are doing. That's where it comes from. The windows are there. It'll last for, whatever amount of time it is. And our clubs such that they open up and they close down. Like you're talking about this is a really hard time right now. It's a really, really hard time. Like I said, we did 15 shows just before the pandemic hit. Half the clubs are gone.
Yeah.
Right?
That's crazy,
easy.
man. Even my area, like everything's gone as far as music goes, to where you guys can play or where we can book you or set you here, play here.
It'll come back, and the people go, oh, live stream. That's cool and everything, but it's not the same.
Man.
If video was going to work, then it would have happened in the 70s when you could film bands playing. And it didn't. You want to sit there, and I don't want a camera telling me what I can look at. I want to be able to look at the drummer, and I want to be able to look at the bass player. I want to watch, and I want to feel the sound all around me, and I want to feel the sweat, and I want to feel the vibe in the room. You're just not going to get that.
I want to be in the pit. Yeah, you don't get that chemical. You don't get that chemical.
Pheromone.
But it's like a chemical connection between you and the band. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get that watching it on live stream.
I had a funny one I shared today, actually. It made me kind of laugh. I go, yeah, I'm missing live music. I broke my toilet, put on my friend's band, and stood outside and came back in afterwards and said, really loved your set, man.
Because that's where we're at, right?
Yeah, overflow toilet.
Pretty cool.
Like, I'm pretty sure.
Club. That's a punk rock club.
Oh, fuck yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure the next pit I get in, I'm gonna hug the big sweaty dude. I'm not gonna bash into him. Like, that's where I'm at. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, it just throw me around. Like, throwing my kids around the living room and smashing them into each other, it's just not the same as being in the pit. I mean, it's equally as entertaining, but it's not the same. So is there anything else you want to tell the world before we end this off?
Like, music will come back. It'll be here. Like, if things come and go, ebb and flow. Like, the clubs will go away, the clubs will go back. When they do, as much as we can do, you got to get out and support things, right? Like, as much as we talk about how wonderful it was when things are around. Remember going out to your show and not having a hard time getting 20 people to come out, folks. Now you got locked down, you weren't able to go out. So let's get out when it opens back up and get out there. And it might be a backyard gig. It might be a gig that pops up at a space and then goes away after that day because they brought a PA in. That's what might happen as well, right? People are going to find rooms, but live music's going to find a way and it'll come back.
Certain people will make certain shit happen, man, and we're going to make shit happen. Right?
Well, that's what it's people just. I care. I want to make it happen because I want to create the good time and the good vibes, and then it happens, and people come and enjoy yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll see another rise in the underground basement bars.
I think you will. I think that's the first thing that's going to kind of come back, right? Is you're going to see gigs like that, the up sort of places that are going to be there, right? And then and then the other thing is go out and do it, and then hopefully listen to new music. Like, people always go, there's no good music. Well, there's got to be. The other thing that kind of died is there's not bookshops telling you what are cool books. There's not record stores where you can go and someone go, I think you're gonna like this, right? You got this telling you, here's 5 other things that sound exactly like you like, right?
It's so true, though.
Something, right? Don't tell me. Great as you suggested it. And that try and discover new music and try and listen to it. There is good music out there, and there's probably a lot of shit music, but find the good music you like. There's always been shit music, Like, people go, "Oh, music isn't like what you say." I go, guys, the Grammys are going down the hill. Grammys are always shit. Milli Vanilli,
100%.
Manufactured garbage.
Don't get your head thinking that this, there was some previous glorious years of music. There's always been there's a lot of shitty pop music that's always been around, and there's always been this other music that later on people go, oh, that was seminal music. Well, my kids go, oh, the Ramones are huge. I go, no, the Ramones weren't huge when the Ramones were out. They became big after. Iggy Pop became big later on. Like, all these bands were separate, that MC5, all these bands that people go, oh, they were so seminal and big. They became big after they were around, sort of thing.
Oh,
right?
yeah. They're already long gone. You know what I mean? But
bands who, after they broke up, everyone's going, oh, they're so seminal and great. I go, yeah, but no one fucking liked them when they were around. They like them.
That's right.
Right? Oh, you realize you know what we missed out on. So go out, find the new music, and you can say you're into it before anyone else was.
That's how we do it.
here with Sofa City Sounds of the Boneyard, man, we brought a lot of new music that a lot of people haven't heard about yet. Like,
Exactly.
this is where you're gonna find that fucking new music you're talking about, you know, like
Exactly.
right here,
Yeah.
live in the
Pretty
Boneyard.
heavy tune. That one you put on there, I quite like that one that you used. I'm glad that you picked that one as the one to make for the ad for this one, because I'm kind of liking that one. It's a
That's all TJ. That's all
you.
TJ. He did that.
I did that, yeah. I'm sorry with short notice. I just kind of made it work, you know. But the file you guys sent, everything worked on the music. It was great. I was happy, but I'm just glad you were happy too, right? So.
Yeah. And on that note, hang around backstage for a minute. I'm going to kick everybody else out of our conversation, and we'll continue this backstage, and then I'm going to head out and finish my night. So
play loud, play proud.
Thanks so much for being with us, dude.